Good morning, students. Myself, Dr. Vijender Singh Tawar, Associate Professor in English. Presently, I have been posted at Government College Guda in the Jhanjano district. In the series of video lectures which are being prepared by me, this video is meant for the students of Class BA Part 1st, Subject English Literature, Paper 1st, and the topic of this video is critical appreciation of the poem, which is a sonnet composed by John Milton, entitled On His 23rd Birthday. About John Milton, we know that he is one of the greatest English poets. He was born in 1608 and died in 1674. As he is a popular, famous, and essential poet to understand English literature, so we can say that he has carved out a niche for himself in English literature. Carved out a niche means he has made a permanent place for himself in English literature. He is considered the greatest English poet after Shakespeare. It is said that Milton will always be remembered as a great poet of England, and if England is to be represented in an international congress of poets, it will be by Shakespeare first and Milton next. Milton, during his lifetime, sided with Cromwell and he enjoyed political power also. But after 1652, he became blind. He could not participate politically or in active politics. When in 1660, the Charles II was again made king. He was put in the jail, and in jail he wrote his famous works. One of them is Paradise Lost. It is a story of creation of man, women, and relationship between God and man, and how man lost his paradise and how he can regain, etc., etc. And in this epic, the poet has tried to justify the ways of God to man, that whatever God does, he does always right. This is the one aspect of his personality. The second was he was a voracious reader. He used to study too much. His friends, relatives used to advise him not to study too much, but he did not pay any heed to their advice. As a result, due to constant hard work and study, he became totally blind at the age of 44. But he composed poems. As it was his life mission, and he declared it in his childhood that it will be his life mission to compose good poems in praise of God. When he became blind, he was in jail. He used to speak, and his daughter used to write. His style is grand and majestic. In him, there is a wonderful union of intellectual power and the creative power. As far as the poem is concerned, the poem entitled On His 23rd Birthday is hailed as one of the finest sonnets in English language. It is highly autobiographical in character and exposes the poet's mind and personality. It was written probably in 1631, soon after Milton's 23rd birthday. There is a story about the composition of this poem, that one of his friends wrote a letter after his 23rd birthday to Milton and asked him what he had achieved so far regarding his life mission. In reply to that person, Milton wrote a letter in prose, and along with prose letter, he wrote this sonnet also, and he sent this to that friend. It was published in 1645. And in this poem, we notice that the poet has expressed his feelings of disappointment, regret over his failure, as he has not been able to make any uh, considerable achievement, and he has become 23. That is his disappointment, his known achievements, his doubts and fears are expressed regarding his own ability as a poet has been expressed in this poem. But the poem is a sonnet, and in sonnet we know that the poet will solve that problem also. So this sonnet was included in the letter that the poet wrote to an unknown friend to reply his letter. The poet was advised by this friend to give up his indefinite study and decide on his life profession, probably the church, because he wanted to compose poems in praise of God. But Milton, at the very early stage of life, had avowed, which declared it openly, it to be the mission of his life to compose great poetry in God's praise. So this is the background. The poem opens on a note of self-distress. The poet does have some kind of doubts regarding his own talent. The poet says that he is 23 and has apparently done nothing in his life. He expresses his disappointment at his non-achievement in his life. He personifies time as a human being and calls it as a cunning thief of youth and declares that it has stolen away 23 years of his life. He thinks that the day after day is flying away, but he has not made any progress towards achieving the purpose of his life. The idea is, the poet says that 23 years of his life have gone, have passed without letting him know. And moreover, he is aware of the fact that time is running very fast, is passing very fast, and he has not made any considerable achievement so far regarding his life mission. So doubts and fears regarding his own abilities starts haunting him. He says that the springtime of his life has shown little budding and blossoming of his talent. Little means almost negligible, that he has not been able to do anything considerable. Then the poet derives some consolation from the supposition that his appearance has deceived him. He feels that he appears to have achieved the maturity of age, yet his poetic powers have not achieved maturity. In other words, perhaps he appears too old for his years, and the ripeness that comes with age is yet to appear. He feels that he is not lucky enough to have early ripeness of his powers like some people who are lucky enough to achieve that maturity early in their lives. What he wants to say that there are some lucky person who achieves maturity of their talent at proper time, and he is not lucky as he has not been able to achieve the maturity of his talent so far. But these doubts and fears roll away as soon as the poet makes a renewed and fresh resolve to pursue his objective. He makes a firm determination to submit his talents to God's service. That in the sestet, he has decided, he has resolved that he has submitted completely himself to the will of God. And as soon as he does so, he feels that all his doubts, his fears regarding his talents have disappeared. The maturity of intellectual power, be little or great, rapid or slow, will take place. Now he believes that he will definitely achieve maturity of his talents. He is sure that his poetic powers will achieve ripeness and maturity, but when they do ripe, they will be perfectly suited to his mission. He firmly believes that the maturity of his talents, however high or low, will be made exactly suitable to the destiny towards which time and God's will are leading him. Means he has firm faith in God that it is God, whether his maturity will take place rapidly, slowly, more, less, high quality, low quality, it will be achieving that target which is decided by God for him. And time and God's will are leading him in that direction. He is sure of that. Even now, everything in his life is under the supervision and care of his great taskmaster, that is God, who has assigned him life work or task. In a different sense, God is constantly supervising his poetic abilities and their ripening. He is responsible to God, and it is God's will that prevails. Once his doubts, fears have disappeared from his mind. Now he has submitted completely to the service of God, and he now says that what will happen, it will happen according to the will of God. In this way, the poet has developed his idea and concluded it. Now, as it is a question on critical appreciation, so let us see what kind of comments we can have on this poem. First is form of the poem. As we know, in composing sonnets, Milton adopted Petrarchan model rather than Shakespearean one. The poem is modeled on the pattern of Italian or Petrarchan sonnets. With its usual division into octave consists of 8 lines and sestet of 6 lines. The octave of the sonnet expresses the poet's disappointment at his non-achievement, and the sestet the sestet contains the noble expression of the noble resolve to use his talent under the supervision of God. Rhythm. The poem is a Petrarchan sonnet. It follows the traditional rhyme scheme of an Italian sonnet devised by Petrarch, but with a slight variation in the rhyme scheme of the sestet. The rhyme scheme of the octave is traditional, that is ABBA, ABBA, and rhyme scheme of the sestet is CDE, DCE. This is the variation. Now the meter. The poem or the sonnet bears witness to Milton's perfect mastery of the meter and style. The poem is composed in iambic pentameter. As the name shows, each line has 10 syllables, making up 5 iambic, that is unstressed, stressed feet, with of course numerous modulations. For example, but my late spring. These are unstressed, stress, unstressed, stress. These 5 feet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, are so, or below some shoot. Now diction, that is the language used by the poet. The poet composed this sonnet when he did not achieve any name in the field of writing. In spite of this, the poem displays Milton's command over language and his felicity of phrasing. He has said what he had to say in the fewest possible words. The language used by the poet is simple and easy to understand. Moreover, the poet has expressed his views in a highly suggestive language and in a natural manner. There are no classical allusions, references that make Milton's poetry difficult to understand. It is natural and straightforward expression of thought in equally natural language. The felicity and aptness of phrases, the subtle theme of youth, timely happy spirits are notable. The idea is, though Milton is regarded as a difficult author, he often alludes to many mythological and cultural references. But in this poem, we do not notice any such thing. Moreover, the language is very simple and easy. Now, another feature of this poem is autobiographical poem. The poem is highly autobiographical in character. It has been well described as an inseparable part of Milton's biography. It is a clear proof of the fact that at a very early age in his life, Milton had decided upon a mission or life work, and he was anxious to pursue it. That is, this poem, along with On His Blindness, they have become inseparable part of Milton's biography. If we do not know these poems, we cannot understand the real life story of Milton. Now, another point is metaphors. The poet has made beautiful use of metaphors. These metaphors make the point of the poet clear and help in expressing what the poet wants to convey in an effective manner. The sudden change of metaphor from horse in line 3 to spring and flowers in the fourth line is notable. As the poet writes, my hasting days fly on with full career, but my late spring no bud or blossom showeth. That is, in this first line, my hasting days, the poet describes the speed of the time with which that time is passing, and its speed is compared with the horse running at the top speed. And in the next line, the achievements are compared with bud and blossom. That no bud or blossom, that is no achievement, remarkable achievement. Another point, as an exposition of the poet's personality. The poem exposes the poet's mind and personality. It is a clear proof of the poet's sense of responsibility towards his mission, that he was a very responsible person. It shows his deep devotion to God and sincerity in his work. The poet has deep faith in his commitments towards God as he writes, all is, if I have grace to use it so as ever in my great taskmaster's eye. That is, if he will get an opportunity to use his talent, the service of God, it will be under the supervision of God, and it will be as already decided by the God. Now, conclusion. In conclusion, it may be said that it is a fine sonnet in Petrarchan style. It is autobiographical in the sense that it is an exposition of the poet's mind and personality. In the octave, the poet is in a mood of despair at his non-achievement. In the sestet, his mood is that of a noble resolve to use his great gifts, his talents, for God's glory. He submits himself and his achievement to God, the taskmaster, and makes peace with himself. He resolves that he is responsible to God and it is his will that prevails. And the poet has achieved his purpose in a masterly manner. Thank you very much.